Love is in the air. It's also blind and patient and like a box of chocolates. No, that's life. The point is, love is a lot of things, and so I've been told it's everywhere. So why can't it be in your computer? And no, I'm not talking long distance, I'm talking about dating sims. Dating sims are a weird enough concept in and of themselves, but the games run much deeper than just Honey Pop and Dream Daddy. And look, if you genuinely like these games, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. All I'm saying is I've seen Steam's new and trending, and way too many people have a problem. Dating sims or romance simulation games aren't new either. There are games dating back to the 80s, like Girl's Garden developed by Sega for the SG-1000, where you collect flowers in order to win the affection of a boy, and although this holds absolutely no connection to the type of games we see now, thank God, a few years later one of the first more traditional dating sims was released exclusively in Japan by Nintendo, entitled Nakayama Miho no Tomeki High School. Being developed by both the creator of the Final Fantasy series and co-creator of Metroid, this game lets you pick between pre-established dialogue options and actions in order to make different choices and change your game's path to one of the whopping 2 different endings. You're stuck pursuing Miho Nakayama in the game, who is an actual actress and singer in Japan during the time, which is really interesting because it's not something you normally see done nowadays. By the time the 90s rolled around, we already fell hard in the anime route with games like Magical Date for arcade and PlayStation, and for PC. Both of these games make me feel like we strayed just a little bit further from humanity when they were made. Magical Date is a lot closer to an arcade game than a dating sim. Sure, you pick one of the 3 girls at the start of the game, but then you're just running around a board completing arcade-style mini-games, and it's only between those moments that you get to do things like take pictures of them in bathing suits. At certain points in the game, the date will ask the player different questions, and you'll have to pick the right answer or they'll become upset. Tell me about it. Overall, this game's closer to WarioWare than it is a dating sim, and yeah, I'd like to keep it that way. Thousand Arms is an action role-playing game that came out in the late 90s, and if you're like me seeing how this game looks, you're probably confused as to why I'm mentioning it here, but in the game's description, it literally describes the main character as a womanizing spirit blacksmith, and that in order to increase the power of his weapons, he must increase his intimacy level by going out on dates with women. How is it so integral to your character that being a womanizer needs to be put in front of your occupation as the plot of the game? That's not even his character description. You wanna know what that says? He's attracted to Sodina, but can't resist hitting on other beautiful women. Good luck getting a remake today, buddy. That shit's not gonna fly. Now, the game I mentioned earlier is different from the previous 2. Whereas yes, the other 2 had aspects of dating sims and introduced the idea of having multiple choices for partners, also included multiple partners, but the whole game is the fact that it's a visual novel dating sim. There are multiple spin-offs and remasters, including a version for the Game Boy Color and remasters that have been released all the way up till 2022. As far as I can tell, this game is marked as a standard for modern dating sims, with most games going forward trying to mimic a similar style. Reaching the 2000s, and we have Love Plus for the Nintendo DS released once again, exclusively in Japan. Not only is it a little strange to have a dating sim on, and I don't fully mean it when I say this, but a primarily children's-based console, but the game after you become a couple with one of the girls just turns into pets. They might as well have just called it girlfriends. Well, I guess it's too late to do that now. The game has the option of being played in real time, and between the characters being able to actually say the player's name back to them and the fanbase referring to themselves as boyfriends, the game gets weird fast. Not to mention, there was a 3DS sequel called Love Plus Plus, which included a Face ID feature, so no one could talk to your girlfriend but you. And someone please tell me why this was an issue. The 2010s onwards blew up with so many dating sims, it's impossible to keep track of. Steam alone is home to nearly 6,000 games categorized as such, and although I agree, certain games fit the description better than others, regardless of what that number is, it's still too many to talk about, which is why I managed to cut it down to 31 games or game series spread throughout 8 categories. Is it perfect? God no, but it's what I came up with. First off, we have anime, which is a majority of the dating sims. Yes, people view anime girls as cute, but some like them so much, they want to see them naked. Honey Pop is probably the worst offender, or at least the most popular. I'm looking at this game like, hell yeah, I know Candy Crush when I see it, but that's new. Let's be honest, the 24,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews of this game are not because of the gameplay. This is an iOS game with an anime girl slapped in the corner who strips depending on how well you're doing. It's the equivalent of those TikToks that have Subway Surfer on half the screen, and it's working! Obviously there's more to it, but I'm looking at it, and is there? Crush is similar in the sense that the gameplay is beyond simple. It's a clicker game, and I've played Cookie Clicker. It was sweet, but you know what it didn't have? Sexual content and nudity. To think I was sitting there staring at my double chunk chocolate cookie when I could have been looking at cartoon boobs? This is Mrs. Incredible. There's also a male version called Blush Blush if that's what you're into. There are also animals for some reason. Once again, this is literally just a clicker game which has been done several times before and will continue to be reskinned. Even after reading the reviews for this game, I can't tell if people genuinely like it or if it's just a meme, and as much as I'd like to give people the benefit of the doubt, I don't think it's as much of a joke as I'd like it to be. Doki Doki Literature Club is a cute little dating sim with Japanese schoolgirls, except for the fact it's actually a psychological horror game. I had no idea until writing this part of the script that Doki Doki Literature Club wasn't a traditional dating sim. Maybe that's my stupidity, but besides a warning at the beginning of the game trailer saying it's not suitable for children or those easily disturbed, there's no way of knowing what this game actually is, because it quite literally disguises itself as a traditional dating sim. There are other games that attempt a similar bait and switch, but none get the job done quite as effectively as Doki Doki. This game might have single-handedly changed my perspective on what dating sims are, or at least what they can be. Now, I was fully aware that it was just a matter of time before I started talking about iOS games, but I didn't anticipate having to talk about the My Blank Girlfriend series. That's because I didn't know it existed, and what a good life that was. My dog girlfriend, my wolf girlfriend, my foxy girlfriend, my nurse girlfriend, my magical girlfriend, my ninja girlfriend, my rental girlfriend, and my sweet stalker are all made by Genius Studio Japan Incorporated. And it's exactly what you expect from an iOS game. Cut corners, barely functioning, and microtransactions because of course. These games, from what I can tell, are terrible, but what if there was a good iOS dating sim experience? Mystic Messenger, unlike the My Girlfriend series, takes its time in crafting a unique experience with multiple set paths that connect to one another. This isn't something that only this game does. I'm finding out it's a staple for most romantic choice games that want an immersive story, but it's surprising seeing the care that went into crafting it. Even just how the UI is designed intrigues me. Everything is set up like a cell phone, with your main source of communicating with everyone being through either text or calls. And although it's simple, it feels like you have a lot more control than how these style of games are traditionally done. But let's get one thing straight, there's nothing traditional about wanting to hook up with monsters. Now, you're probably thinking, there's not enough non-human dating games in order to make this a category, and all I have to say to that is we haven't gotten to animals yet. This category alone could be filled up by the number of Monster Prom games and spin-offs that exist, and I'll be honest, they're kinda cool. They have some meta humor, and with the dialogue being pretty self-aware, it's a bit easier to consume. The art style and character design is pretty amazing if I'm being honest, and the ability to have multiplayer up to 4 players is something I didn't know was possible for dating sims. The biggest downside I have for the Monster Prom series, along with nearly all traditional dating sims, is simply how static everything is. If you're gonna try to turn me on with cartoons, at least have them move. Helltaker is another one, but with an interesting twist. It serves mostly as a puzzle game with other unique levels thrown in. The dating sim sections are placed in between levels, as the player character's goal is to create a harem of demon girls. Although the gameplay is relatively easy, it's not exactly ripped off or overdone like Honey Pop or Crush Crush, and I'd view Helltaker as a short game done properly. Speed Dating for Ghosts is a game that doesn't take itself too seriously. Yeah, it's another short game and it's pretty low quality, but the characters and situations add the life and spirit into the game. Some ghosts have genuine traumas they're working through, meanwhile others want you to rob a bank. It's up to you who you decide to live the rest of your life with. Hooked on You Dead by Daylight. Have you ever played Dead by Daylight and were like, damn, these murders are hot, and daddy needs himself a Dahmer? No? Thank God. Do you know how messed up that is? Hooked on You is a Dead by Daylight dating sim if that wasn't already obvious, and I agree, everyone is deserving of love. But if you're gonna threaten to kill me because I don't want to apply suntan lotion to your butt cheeks, just do it. Not you, Huntress. I wasn't talking about you. So, Animals. Perfect Date, according to its game description, is a blend of mystery, intrigue, and wickedly black humor. Needless to say, I don't think I'll be getting a lot of the jokes. Do you want to date a cat? No? Okay, moving on. Paca Plus. Do you want to date an alpaca? No? Moving on. Pugs. Moving on. Sharks with large breasts. See? I knew that one would get you. Look, if these games I just skipped over are worth anything, it's to show that not every game is worth talking about. A lot of these games are made on a very small scale with the idea of just being out there, but some miss the mark by just being a bit too far gone. If you like these, that's fine. I'm sure enough care went into them to deserve a certain level of admiration. But in my research, there's other games that put so much more effort into being compelling. For instance, Hatoful Boyfriend is at first glance just another joke of a dating sim. You're the only human at an all-bird academy, and in between classes you get to wander the halls bumping into everybody. each with a unique story. You might not get it at first, but as the game progresses, different mysteries unfold as you gradually get snippets into what each bird is hiding. You'll finish one story realizing there's so much left to uncover, and like I mentioned before with Mystic Messenger, the more you replay and try different options, the more this intricately woven story eventually unravels. But art is dead and God's not here, because if they were, we wouldn't be flirting with objects, and no, I'm not talking about women. Attack Helicopter and Tank Dating Simulators. It baffles me that these are two different games made by two different developers, and I don't know what's more disturbing. The fact that they added blush on the helicopters and it's kind of working, or that the tank game trailer starts with Nazi war footage. I don't know guys, I think it's the blush. Boyfriend Dungeon also falls into this category for me, but it's on a completely different level. The boyfriends in said game are the weapons you find along the way. Did that sword look cool? Guess we're gonna have to flirt with it. That dagger could be fun. It probably won't hurt that bad. The game's setup is similar to Hades with a mix of Survivor IO, and compared to a lot of the other games I'm mentioning for this video, it's probably closest to Helltaker in both size and simply how the games are built. I truly believe that the best dating sims are the ones that give themselves another main genre to rely on. This brings me to Dating Sims ? These three games are substantially more popular than the other ones on this list and very lightly dip their toes in the genre to be considered as such. Some more than others, I'll be fair. But what is there truly that separates this from this? The fact that there's actually a game? No, none of these are traditional dating sims, assuming that traditional dating sims make you stare at a PNG of someone while text rolls by. Stardew Valley is a simulator, but it's a farming and life simulator much more than anything else. Yeah, it's fun to try to romance these characters and see who you might end up with in the end, but for most of the day, you're farming, fishing, mining, or doing whatever else in order to progress forward. Another great example of this, although even further from traditional, is The Sims. Another life sim that has so much openness to its dating or romance that it's just naturally integrated within the game that you don't really think that much about it. Then again, I understand these characters don't really have backstories, or at least ones you hear about throughout the game, which pulls you towards one character more than another. You could argue that The Sims isn't even a dating sim, and I understand why, but I'd still have to ask, is it because it's safe for work? House Party is a game where you go to a house party and you try to fuck people. That's the game. You have to make certain choices or complete certain tasks just to get a little bit closer to being in someone's pants. The whole plot of the game is to hook up with somebody here, and although it's considered an adventure game, well, I guess we're exploring something, the tags don't even include dating sim on the list. And I mean, technically, we're not trying to date them, so I guess that's fair, but how does this hold more of a connection than a house party? Maybe it's just too advanced. Have you ever thought, man, I love flirting with my computer, but if only the women were real? Well, you have to step outside for that one, and we both know that's not going to happen. But what I do have is FMV Dating Sims, better known as full motion video dating sims. You mean I get to stare at real women and they move? Love is All Around and according to what Google Translate says, Love Multiple Choice Questions are both games that use real video footage that differs depending on what choices you make. And guys, or girls, anyone can do it, but just, if you need someone to talk to, reach out, I'll respond. Better yet, I'll set you up with a dating sim that helps you talk to women. Because Super Seducer How to Talk to Girls is just that. Super Seducer How to Talk to Girls is yet another FMV game, this time with the intentions of helping you talk to, and don't freak out when I say this, real women. I know, I pissed your pants too when I heard this malarkey. Ever have that primal urge to go up to women and say things that at the very least would be a misdemeanor? Just making sure. Now you can finally test out all those moves you've been practicing in the mirror and be directed on what you should or shouldn't try in real life. Did I mention there's 3 games? Because that's a lot of rejection. Although there are certain things that you can only ever fantasize about, and that's because Joe Biden won't always be here to flirt with. Love Joe Biden is here for all of your wildest fantasies. Joe Biden related, of course. You work at a retirement home alongside a pack leader, and of course there's gotta be an anime girl. Will you succumb to Joe's seduction, or will you be a normal person and only think about doing it? I'm not sure, but what I do know is I'll be having international affairs. Is Biden not cutting it? Do you need to be tag teamed by multiple politicians from around the globe? International affairs lets you do that, and that is all I will say. But me, I'm not really a big politics guy. I'm more of a, holy shit, is that Colonel Sanders? Butter my biscuits and lick my bones dry. This digital man, digital can have my children. There's a whole slew of different characters, but before you sick fucks get any ideas, no, you can't with the dog. It's Sanders or nobody here, and I think that's pretty fair. I also don't understand why most dating sims go with the school setting. I feel like it's kind of weird when it's not natural. Not that any of these games have been, but regardless, I Love You Colonel Sanders is a finger-licking good experience. Now, if you like that last one, you probably like your men all covered in oil. And there's no one more lubed up than the Invisible Man himself, the prototype, I mean John Cena. I hope you're not sick of the high school setting quite yet, because this is John Cena's sexy high school adventure. We have Cena Senpai, Mr. Cena, Johnny, and Jane Cena. This one's weird, but at least it doesn't get any worse than this. Caging Me Softly is a Nicolas Cage dating sim. You get one time where you get to pick a choice, and the game immediately gives you one of the 4 endings based off of it. There's not much to say. After lots of careful consideration on this last category, I finally come up with it, and it's Other. Now I know that sounds kind of disappointing, but it was between other or non-Asian based dating sims, which include humans, and our normal, in parentheses, for the most part. And I don't know guys, Other just kind of rolls off the tongue. Our Life Beginnings and Always leans into the side of a visual novel more than a dating sim, but that simply adds to the charm. The game includes character customization for yourself, along with a really interesting way to go about conveying how your character perceives certain moments. Over a series of 4 acts broken into even more moments, as the game calls them, you get to grow up alongside your friends in a neighborhood where your interactions will shape who they become. You aren't even forced into a romantic relationship if that's not what you want. And overall, Our Life is a cute game with an even more adorable story. Arcade Spirits, on the other hand, has you working at an arcade. Once again, you get some level of character customization all the way down to your pronouns. And this game also just gives you the ability to turn off romance as an option. Over your time working at the arcade, you'll get introduced to an arrangement of characters from all different backgrounds, whether it be fellow employees or simply just regulars at the establishment. Something Arcade Spirits does that I appreciate is that it keeps track of how you respond in certain situations, slowly building your character's personality. This same interface keeps track of your relationships, which is a nice touch as well. Now you guys have probably all been waiting for it. Dream Daddy is a game made by the Game Grumps. It understands that dating sims are weird and leans into it where it needs to. The dialogue is fun, the dads are dreamy, and out of the 3 games I mentioned, it has the most options for character customization. Some mini games are sprinkled in order to further your relationships with each daddy, and at the end of each date you're given a score just to prove that you don't have nearly enough game as you think you do. Then again, it's probably just from all the dad jokes because you yourself are a father along with every daddy included in this game. But guys, where are the mommies? Oh, there's one, with her husband, who you can date. So what have we learned today? Dating sims are a weird concept, there's no denying that. But for every hentai or joke game out there, there's a game whose team genuinely cared about what they were making. One who made sure that it had interesting mechanics and a unique story, and I refuse to discredit the work of those people. I still much prefer games that have another focal point other than just the dating aspect of things, whether that be Helltaker, Boyfriend Dungeon, or Stardew Valley. But I've also learned to appreciate dating sims that simply put the time into creating a rich story. Our Life Beginnings and Always is a great example of this and might have single-handedly changed my perspective on the genre as a whole. That being said, some of the games I was most looking forward to, the overly joking ones, left me a little bit disappointed because I didn't see the same care put in. And you can do unserious well. I Love You Colonel Sanders and Hatoful Boyfriend are both perfect examples of that, just in completely different fonts. Hatoful Boyfriend had some of the most shocking revelations, only second to Doki Doki Literature Club, and yeah, that was certainly unexpected. But if at the end of the day you like Honey Pop and Crush Crush, you can do that too. There's enough games in the genre for there to be something for everyone, and if you haven't already, I highly recommend giving a couple games a try, if for nothing else to simply gain some level of respect for the genre. Thank you for giving this video a try and for getting to this point. Normally, I'm standing in front of a green screen the whole time playing a game that brings me to the brink of insanity, but I wanted to try something a little bit new, and hopefully you guys like it. I'll still be doing my gameplay retrospectives, also maybe some videos like this more, if that's what you guys want. I was also thinking about maybe some show or movie breakdowns. Regardless, I promise there will be effort in whatever I do. Thank you guys, and I'll see you around.